Gary Lineker will be spoken to by BBC appearing to compare migrant policy to Nazi Germany. Gary Lineker will be spoken to over a social media post appearing to draw comparisons between the government's new illegal migration bill and the policies of Nazi Germany, the BBC has said. A spokesperson for the broadcaster said the Match of the Day host, 62, will be reminded of his responsibilities on social media. It comes after the presenter shared a Twitter video put out by Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, in which she unveiled government plans to stop migrant boats crossing the channel. "Good heavens, this is beyond awful," he wrote. Another Twitter user, responding to Lineker's post, described his comment as out of order, adding that it was easy to pontificate when it doesn't affect you. Lineker responded, "There is no huge influx. We take far fewer refugees than other major European countries. This is just an immeasurably cruel policy directed at the most vulnerable people in language that is not dissimilar to that used by Germany in the 30s, and I'm out of order." His comments were condemned by a number of Tory politicians, who urged the BBC to take action. Conservative Party Deputy Chairman, Lee Anderson, wrote on Twitter, "This is just another example of how out of touch these overpaid stars are with the voting public. Instead of lecturing, Mr. Lineker should stick to reading out the football scores and flogging crisps." Double quote. A spokesperson for the corporation said, "The BBC has social media guidance, which is published. Individuals who work for us are aware of their responsibilities relating to social media. We have appropriate internal processes in place if required." Double quote. The BBC's editorial guidelines state that the organization is committed to achieving due impartiality in all its output. The guidelines also state that public comments, for example on social media, of staff, or presenters, can affect perceptions of the BBC's impartiality. It is not the first time that the former Leicester City, Tottenham Hotspur and England striker has fallen foul of the broadcaster's impartiality guidelines. In October, the BBC's Executive Complaints Unit ruled that Lineker had breached its rules with a tweet about Russia and the Conservative Party. On that occasion, the complaints team ruled that although Lineker was not a journalist, he had an additional responsibility for impartiality under the BBC's guidance, which states high standards apply to those who nevertheless have an additional responsibility to the BBC because of their profile on the BBC. Click to subscribe to the Sky News Daily wherever you get your podcasts. In February 2018, Lineker also faced criticism from BBC cricket commentator Jonathan Agnew over his comments on Brexit. Responding to one of Lineker's Twitter posts, Agnew wrote, "Gary, you are the face of BBC Sport. Please observe BBC editorial guidelines and keep your political views, whatever they are and whatever the subject, to yourself. I'd be sacked if I followed your example. Thanks." Double quote.